Commissioner, you may start.
Okay, thank you. Call this meeting of the Tree and Green Infrastructure Committee meeting to order on September, where are we, the 10th at 10 a.m. Fortunately, we have a quorum today. We do have a few members absent, so I'll do a roll call. I'll just do it as I see them on the screen. Joan Flaherty?
Here.
Andrea Hoffman?
Here.
Commissioner Dick Byrne?
Here.
Rob Van Horn?
Here.
Liza Trey? Liza? Is your audio working?
It appears that she's muted.
Are you muted, Liza?
Yeah.
You're here anyway, but I just want you to be able to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then with us, we also have Liz Lingo today. And so Elise and Katie are absent. Okay. We do not. Oh, actually, the next thing we have to do is approval of minutes. So everyone got the minutes that I sent out yesterday. Thanks to Joan for not only doing a great job as she always does, but last month, as you may recall, there was a storm and we had computer outages and people that couldn't join or only heard half the meeting or whatever, and Joan was one of those, so she was able to go back and recreate the minutes despite that. So extra effort this time. But are there any questions about them? In that case, I guess I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay. No, any opposed or abstaining? Okay. Okay, then we'll approve the minutes for the August 20th meeting. I don't know of any correspondence. I haven't received any. And I only really have two updates. One is we spent some time at the last meeting talking about some of the loose ends with the tree ordinance. And I am meeting with Hoyt Decker probably Monday morning. I'm in the process now of creating a sort of a comparative chart between the current ordinance, the Planning Commission draft, the LOC draft, and what I'm calling the hybrid, which is what we've been working on. And I think it's ready to go to the commissioners for discussion. So I'm meeting with him Monday to talk about that. I'm going to assemble all the feedback from the other committees as well, from Parks and Shade Tree, from the Environment Committee, and from individuals who've written in and create. Oh, so Katie Downs has just joined us. Welcome, Katie. I don't know if our audio is on yet, but I see you're on the screen. Anyway, so I'm going to collect all that material and get it to the mayor. And I had promised him before that it would be ready to go back to the commissioners by the end of September. And I think that's still the case. I don't know if with scheduling, we'll actually talk about it before the end of September or not, whether we'll have a special meeting or, which I think we probably should, just given the fact that it's a lengthy topic and it might deserve its own meeting. But otherwise, we'll be talking about it sometime in early October. So that's the status there. Yes.
Will that packet be available to us?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it'll be available to anybody. But yeah, I will send it out. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to put everything together so it's organized but not too voluminous, because it's a lot of stuff. But yes, absolutely, everything will be. And I guess the only other update I have is actually a question that maybe Andrea can fill in the pieces on. We've been doing the tree watering this summer, and I heard you say that we're in the last weeks of that for the elementary school, right?
Yes. I just want to, I would really like to thank those of you who have helped this summer. The trees are really looking very, very healthy. And again, a huge thank you. I was scheduled for yesterday, and I guess that's not going to be necessary. We just have, I think, well, at least September to get to. And if there is anyone out there, I'm doing next week because I didn't do yesterday. So I'm doing next week. And I have some neighbors that have signed up for the following week. The 3rd and the 4th week of September. Is there anyone? And any day now is fine, Robert. So if there's anyone, and Dick, I want to thank you. You put in quite a few days, and I really appreciate it. The trees appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm happy to take one of those weeks.
Okay.
Helpful to the group.
All right. Would you take the 3rd? The 3rd
Yes,
week?
yeah, just to be clear, that's the week of September 20th.
Yes, yes, I think it is.
Okay.
And is there anybody up for the 4th week?
I can take the 4th week.
Oh, Robert, thank you.
Yeah,
I-
that
you-
is,
You'll need, I'll need to come with you or just talk to you before you go. And any day of the week works, okay? We're off our Wednesdays, but if you
Yeah.
want to just call me, if you don't have anyone to help you, because it is a 2-person job. So
sure.
I'll,
And we'll monitor the weather. I mean, if we get 2 days of a deluge that week,
Right.
I don't see any point in.
Right.
Okay.
right.
So, but I'll touch base with you about that, but I'll take the 4th week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Liz?
And just to remember that school is now in session.
Yes.
Um, Probably not a good idea to be there doing that during school hours. So either before or after, I think works best.
Thank you. You're absolutely right, Dick. Liz, we should go through, I guess I just want to make sure, we should go through October? Liz?
Yeah, technically until the ground freezes, but I think you can really, I mean, that might be January around here.
Right.
But yeah, once the leaves start falling off, you should be fine.
Thanks. So, thank you, everybody.
So you're going to go through October then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'll be back.
Okay, you'll be back next month to fill in the.
Yes. Yes.
Andre, I'll be around in October as well, so keep me in mind.
Perfect.
Starting like the 12th of October, I plan to be there the rest of the month.
No worries. I gotcha, Liz. Thank you.
And Andrea, you might be able,
Liza.
you might be
At
able
the
to do
beginning
it
of the
like
season,
every
there was
other
some,
week.
Insects or some kind of like the white on the leaves. What's the health of the trees? Do they have to be treated, or they look? When I drove by, they looked great.
They
Yeah,
look good.
I grew 10 feet. They look so healthy.
Yeah. So I don't, that's the answer really. They're looking good.
Good.
Great, thank you, Andrea. Well, those are the only 2 updates I have, so I guess we can move. Anybody else has anything, there'll be opportunity to do that later. But I guess we'll go right into old business. And I think I said in the cover memo that I sent out the other day that this might actually be unusual in that if we get through these are relatively simple topics, I guess, and if we get through them, in less than an hour, then we'll have a shorter meeting than usual. But the timing was such that I had to get the agenda. I had to get the agenda to Ann while I was on vacation. So I didn't have a chance to reach out to you all for agenda topics. And so I basically went with what I knew were loose ends from last time. So if we have new initiatives we need to pursue, we can certainly talk about that later in this meeting and queue that up for next time. But one of the big things to me, and I had some correspondence with Liza yesterday because I knew she had stepped up last month to help with this, was the tree mapping. And coincidentally, yesterday I also got a list from Liz of the 28 trees that have been planted this year and their locations, some at Grove Park, some on Rehoboth Avenue, obviously the ones on the Lake Avenue streetscape. So I sent that to Liza, and I think we'll obviously go back and pick up the ones from the year before as well. But since I had the most recent information, we were going to start there. Liza, not to put you on the spot, but were you able to do anything?
Regarding, I have to educate myself on Google Maps, and it's not that difficult. So I have not had a chance to do that. By the next meeting, I should have educated myself and give you a preliminary visionary of what it's going to look like. I mean,
Okay.
it's not that difficult. I just have to go in and tinker around, but I needed that platform. So I'm going to just start with Rehoboth Avenue.
Right.
And
Okay.
see, and then just go from there. But should I just use a Google Maps and download one of Rehoboth Beach and use that? Or do we have a particular map that we want to embed and use that as an indicator?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know
Should I just go to Google Maps and do like a screenshot of it, Liz?
Liz, do you have a better map?
I wouldn't be knowledgeable on that, unfortunately.
All right, so if I need something, Commissioner Gay, I will reach out to you, and, we can just send an email to the committee, or I'll be or you can point me directly to Liz or somebody else, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good place to start, and then we'll see what we need after that. Are you planning to just put like a little dot on the, or a little tree icon, or what?
Right, I was gonna do a little tree icon, so when and then I was gonna make, I guess, a map on the right, like a key on the right side or the left side, so when you hover over that tree name, it goes to a dot, and then vice versa.
Okay, and then you're gonna list over on the side the type of tree, like from the list that Liz gave us.
Correct. And then we're going to add a list of names, but what I understand is the names are not tree specific.
The names of the donors, you mean?
Correct.
Oh, yes, that's true. That would be a separate
So
list.
maybe we could have like the donors on the right side, the donors, and then by year. Or we can do it, I don't know if donors give certain amounts of money, we can do it like, 5,000 and up, or we should just list them alpha order.
I think I would just list them, because the trees, the leaves rather, at City Hall are designated by donation level. And I think that's a good place for it. I don't know that we need to do donation level on the map itself.
Basically, it sounds easy. It's like a 3-column page. The first column is the donors, the second column is going to be the map, and then the third column is going to be the type of trees.
Okay,
I'll just go from there, and I'll figure it out.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to seeing that. I know that people have asked about that, and in fact, I guess are there any other points about the map? That's a good segue into the review of the trees planted this year, which is the next topic. But are there any questions specific to the map?
No.
Okay, great. And if you do need one that's different from Google Map, we could probably get something. I mean, I could probably talk to even IT about getting an electronic version of a map of the city.
I'll see what the parameters are on it and what Google can take, and then I just want to make it easy. So this would be easily linked to the website, or a link within the city website, right. And then we can just build on it and add on it every time we get a donor.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So this, as I said, this is a good segue into the review of trees planted this year. Liz sent me a list. I didn't get it in time to send it out to everybody, because I went back to her to ask for the locations for the mapping purposes. But and Liz, I may let you talk about this a little bit, but you had sent me an email shortly after the last meeting, basically saying that we may not have the funding this fall to do the trees on Delaware Avenue, because we've already done 28 trees this year. And I will try to find where on my other screen here where I have the list of those. Hold on a minute. But I think you do have enough money left to do the street trees on Munson, but it looked like we would be putting off the Delaware Avenue ones until the spring.
Well, I think it depends on if you want them to come from the Commemorative Tree Fund.
Yes, we definitely do.
Yeah, so then we would have to push them to the next fiscal year, which would be April 1.
Okay.
Wait, can you are you referring to the trees that you would put on Delaware Avenue, you would push to the next funding year, or?
Right.
Well, it's not really pushing. I mean, they weren't planned for this year.
Right, but I just mean that's where it would be.
If you want the money to come, if you want the funding for them to come from the Commemorative Tree Fund, they would have, we're done with those plantings for this year, so it would have to come from next year, yes.
Okay.
But like I said, that could be early in the spring. We could do it before the project. We could do it after the project. I'm not sure of the project timeline even, so.
You mean, when you say the project, you mean the restrooms?
Yeah.
Aren't they being done this fall?
I'm not in the, you would know better than me. I'm not in the loop on that.
That was the plan. That doesn't mean it hasn't gotten delayed, but I think that was the original plan, was to start at the end of the season.
Okay.
So the question, how long does it take? And I guess I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But I thought they were going to be ready by next season. But as you say, the tree planting isn't really dependent on that, right?
No, because it's not like a finished product for
Right.
the restrooms.
Yeah.
So.
And Andrea.
I'm just thinking ahead to Arbor Day. would it be possible, to use Delaware Ave for Arbor Day, Liz? I mean, potentially, just,
Sure. Yeah. If you guys want to, that's fine with me.
I just want to think about options, that's all. Not necessarily, but I would just want, okay, so it's an option.
Yeah. I mean, we can
Definitely
use.
not doing the school again, is that right? We've done the school a few times and now we're gonna do something in the city, something else in the city, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm looking at the list now and essentially what we've done this year is, looks like 8 on Rehoboth Avenue, 1 on Delaware, 2 in Grove Park, 1 London Plain and the median at Scarborough. And then the rest of them, 9, 12 plus 4, 16 on the Lake Avenue streetscape. So that's a nice variety this year, both in location as well as in type. And I will get you all this list, but this is what will go on the map. And in addition to that, then I think the street trees on Munson are also in the works for this fall, right, Liz?
Yeah, we have several trees. I don't want to say missing, but that I've had to be planned to be planted rather.
So that'll be this year. And I don't know, we had 17,000 in the commemorative tree for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much we're going to have next year because it depends on what we collect in the current fiscal year. So I suspect I'd like to think we'll have 10 anyway, but we may not have 17. Last year was kind of a banner year. So whatever we collect by the end of the fiscal year is what we will put in for next year's budget. And I think we're starting off, we talked before about, priority plannings for next year. Back to this. And I think we obviously Delaware Avenue was a big one. Where else were we talking about for next year?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Katie, yeah.
What about using the triangle that Dick got funding for trees for next year?
I didn't want to count on that because DelDOT really didn't want trees planted there, and I've just kind of added them and wait for them to tell us no.
Okay.
So I don't want to plant. I mean, if we are allowed to put those in, then we can certainly count them. But I think it might be better just to do that independently.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I thought that there was a grant coming through for that, right?
Yeah.
That's why we took that out of the commemorative tree, right, Dick? Because the grant money was going to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that money has already come to the city. It's $50,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's state bond money that Pete and Ernie each got 25,000 out of the House and 25,000 out of the state Senate. So that has come to the city. So that is available to use as soon as the city is ready to move that project ahead. And my understanding, and hopefully Liz has this on her calendar in some way or another, is that that will start this fall.
Oh, great.
That's the intention, and that was the support from the state in order to get that project up and going this fall.
Dick, are there any time constraints associated with that money? Does it have to be spent within a certain period of time?
I'm not certain that there's a legal constraint on it. There certainly would be. We certainly want to fulfill the commitment so that we continue to have the support of our local legislators in the future. And so they have expectations based on the proposal that went to them. They have a draft proposal that they received that Liz and Katie and perhaps others worked on. And that proposal needs some fine tuning. I don't know if they've been fine tuning it yet, but I think we want to fulfill that commitment that the state made to us. I mean, that's money that not only Pete and Ernie secure for us, but it gets voted on by the General Assembly and signed off by the governor. So we want to keep them all happy so they continue to look favorably upon future kinds of proposals.
It could be done. Could it be done in the spring? Because I mean, that would be a good time to plant too. If it was done early in the spring, and that would give the whatever company plenty of leeway to find the plant material.
Yeah. So the plan includes an irrigation system, which is necessary because of where it's located. We can't rely just on rain, or we will not have a good-looking kind of garden there. So I'm assuming that that's the first thing that has to happen, is to get that underground infrastructure in, before any kind of plantings can happen. And I'm hopeful that the city can hold to that for this fall, at least to get the irrigation system in so that it'd be ready to for plantings in the late winter, early spring, and then be able to turn on that system so that we can move it ahead.
But there are not likely to be any trees in it anyway, right, Liz? You're saying you think DelDOT's going to nix that?
We had some proposed, and they kind of pushed back on them, but didn't say you got to remove them. So I'm hoping maybe they'll just end up kind of sliding through.
They're really small.
Right. But the other question is the $50,000 grant covers everything, right? I mean, the city is not having to add to it in order to finish the project, but the grant covers it all.
It covered everything from the price 3 years ago we received.
Okay. Because if that's the case, then there's no reason for anything to come out of Commemorative Tree, even if it were a nice tree there,
Yeah.
It's covered by a grant. But what I will do for the next meeting, first of all, I'll get an update of the funds raised so far, even though we're really just a little over halfway through the year, so we can't possibly know what's going to come. But again, we'll look at the planting matrix that we've looked at before for next year. But obviously, the number one priority is going to be Delaware Avenue. Andrea.
Just one other place that we might consider for trees. It's the area that Liz and I had talked about for last year's Arbor Day, which is that circular, it's Gerard, what is it? It's Gerard Street, Liz, our pocket park there.
The one we were going to do a couple of years ago.
Yeah, at the end of Cookman.
Yeah, 3rd Street.
3rd Street, thank you. Okay.
On the edge of the park.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
We had 4 oaks going in there, 3 or 4 oaks. So I just don't want to forget that area.
Okay. Well, that was also going to be an Arbor Day area.
Yes, that's why I'm mentioning it.
So yeah, well, right, and
it's another possibility. I just want to make sure that that's.
Well, that may be that, and that may be a better place for Arbor Day if you're planning to put oaks there, because we're not putting oaks on Delaware Avenue. So if you want Arbor Day to be, that kind of high canopy, then we should probably.
Well, it's also for the kids. We're going to do saplings next year. So it's probably going to be that, but I'm not going to forget Delaware. I mean,
right. Oh yeah, no. I think, believe me, I think that's an important project and a really good solution to losing the few trees on, that are around that bathroom. I think it worked out really well. So I'm pleased about that. Okay. Well, if there's not any more, so now we know what we've done this year. We can, I think, be very pleased with the number of trees that have gone in this year and the few that'll go in this fall and what we've got queued up for the spring and the amount of money that's coming in. So given the amount of donations that have come in and continue to come in, I put down under new business the opportunities to promote Commemorative Tree, because we haven't done a press release recently. Haven't been any real reason to, but we had talked some months ago about using the plantings on Lake Avenue as the opportunity for the photo op and the press release, partly because it's far and away our most visible project the whole since the start of this program, because we have so many trees that we've sponsored in that location. And I know there was some concern with them having gone in the summer, and maybe there was some talk, I think, at this meeting, or I had with several of you, that maybe it'd be better to wait and do the press release or the photo op in the spring when they've grown a little, So I guess really that's the discussion here is should we promote the program? And I think we should promote it in some way, whether it's at Lake Avenue or somewhere else. How should we promote it this fall in order to continue to get donations through the fall and winter? And what's the best way to do that? Andrew.
I have not done this, and I should have already, but I think we should once again go back to the market, the market at Grove Park for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So that's on the Saturday.
I will take that on to talk to Pat.
So the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the city have a picture of what Lake Avenue looked like before all the treescape work was done?
We must.
Because I think that we don't have to wait for the parks and the gardens to grow out, because if you show a before and after picture, that sells itself.
Right.
To see what people's contribution and what the city is doing for the beautification and the health of the city. And I think you don't even have to add any words to that. If you just have a before and after picture, and then, we value appreciate your contributions or something like that. I think or a little bit about the history, and then have a before and after picture. I think that speaks volumes.
Liz, there must be a picture of that area somewhere, right?
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure Google Maps has a street
Okay,
view.
when I'm poking around Google Maps, I'll try to find something. But then moving forward, if we do elect to go to that 3rd Street scape and plant those oaks for Arbor Day, it'd be nice to get a picture of what it looks like today. Yeah. And keep it archived. And then once the plantings take place, to do a before and after, and then add that to our website about how we're really transforming the city.
Well, one of the things, and I met with the new communications director a couple months ago, and I sort of gave her a heads up that at some point we were going to want a press release. And I guess at the time I was thinking that the committee would, we would go out to Lake Avenue and all be pictured standing in front of some of the trees. So if we want to do that, I mean, logistically, we've got to pick a time to do it. And I couldn't tell you right now when that would be. But if you all want, we can make that part of it. And I also don't know exactly what will be in the press release. I'm going to use her expertise for that. But I would think we'd want to, the main thrust of it would be, here's what the Commemorative Tree has done. I mean, this big project that we've helped to move forward. And then, the fact that it's an ongoing project and we have plans for next year, and here's how you can donate, I guess, right?
That would be great. She could put it in her lines in the sand, which I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea would be to put it lines in the sand, to send it to the Cape Gazette, to send it out to her, press, to everything. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, but and is everybody interested in being part of a photograph? If I can find a time to do that. Okay. All right. Well, I'll look into it. I don't think it has to be. I mean, if we were meeting in person, the ideal time to do it would be like right before or right after, the next meeting. But since we're not meeting in person, I suppose we could just try to do any time. And obviously, I'm not sure, but maybe even outdoors with all of us clustered together, we want to be masked, that kind of thing. But it's still it's a nice opportunity to picture people as well as the trees. So I will look into doing that. And then did we do any publicity around the farmers market thing last year? Or did we just set it up and people, do you need material? You probably need something.
Susan, Terry Eskew left me some posters for the setup, and I have samples of the leaves to be able to show people for the varying levels that they want to donate to. Plus, I have a lot of forms left over that they can complete or send in to the city if they want to.
I also have leaves and forms, and I also have some little decorations from Arbor Day that we can use to.
Okay.
I think the
decorate.
city allows us to have their tables to set up, and they have some chairs that are already stored in Grove Park.
Right.
Just have to get permission from her, which shouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to just reserve a table in advance for it.
Have to ask her for a table. Yeah, I will do that
And
soon.
Is it one day? It's just one day, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that's great. I think that's good. That's nice visibility. And I don't know, it's possible that we would even have, that there may be an opportunity to do another either press release or something in lines in the sand after that, to just show that we've done that, to try to get more donations in, through the winter or for the holidays, that sort of thing.
Joan, you had some publicity last year. Didn't you have pictures taken?
Yeah,
Was it in the Gazette?
The Cape Gazette came by and took photos.
Yeah.
Oh, they came by and did it themselves?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, I predicted that we might have a short meeting, and sure enough, we've come to the end of our, the business I had on the agenda. But I'd like to go around and see if any of you have comments about anything else, and then we'll brainstorm about what we should do next. But any comments from anyone here?
I have a quick question, and maybe this isn't for us, for our committee. Maybe this is more for parks. But I noticed last week. So you all know I live right across the street from Grove Park, and I noticed that the maintenance crew or the mower, they had a big riding mower, like a brush hog, that was running along Grove Park, along Grove Street on the park side. It was churning up a lot of dirt. There's essentially no grass there. It was churning up a lot of dirt. I was concerned about throwing stones everywhere. That's beside the point. What I was concerned about was damage to the surface roots.
Yeah.
Not so much from a point of affecting water or anything like that, but I'm worried about damaging them, cutting them, and then introducing disease to those big oaks that run along Grove Street there. I'm wondering, Liz, if this is something somebody could look into, or just find out, is it possible to put that big chunky hardwood mulch that we've done everywhere in the park where they have the farmers market? That seems to work really well. Can that be run along that part of the park to try to protect the trees there a little bit, or at least the ground? I don't know if that's something that's an issue for us, or if that's, do we contact the Parks Committee? What's everybody think about that?
I think that's a great idea.
Sounds like a good idea.
And that would protect them?
I don't know. That's what, Liz, what do you think?
About doing the work, or the logistics, or about protecting the trees?
Is it so? Yeah, all of the above. Is it practically possible to do something like that? Does it really matter? Yeah, how would we go about accomplishing that?
We need labor right now. That has been in very, very short supply. I haven't even been able to gather enough manpower to add to the existing wood chips, because it requires coordination from private tree companies as well as in-house labor. In terms of whether or not it protects tree roots, with heavy vehicle, it's a construction technique for protection. You can add a thick layer of mulch or wood chips. I don't know if it'll really help with the light impact of a lawnmower so much.
So it's not just lawnmowers. We have quite a bit of parking going along there too. Now, I know they're not supposed to, but for example, last week we had 3 coach buses. These are the big tour buses that were parked right along the park there for a good part of the day. Now,
All right,
I know
well,
they're not supposed to be, but
yeah, that should be
practically
solved
speaking,
by
they
the
have nowhere else to park
parking
because
department.
there were family reunions or something, some sort of party going on in the park, which is, it's a public park. That's great. But
Yeah.
again, I thought to myself, if we can just provide some kind of protection to the trees, that would help out. Like I said, if it's not practical, or if it's not something that will make any difference, then why waste the money? But if it is something that could potentially help protect the roots of the superficial roots of the tree, or the surface roots of the tree, maybe we could think about it. But I understand what you're saying as far as logistically speaking and workload. I thought I'd throw that out there for the team to see what we think.
You know, Robert, as I listen to you speak, I know, having lived across from Grove Park myself, I think Grove Park may be in need of something like a Friends of Grove Park.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've toyed around in my head with for a while, because we have, this Grove Park neighborhood, and, maybe people would be interested in looking after it.
Let's talk.
Okay, let's talk about that, because my
Okay.
concern was stepping on toes as far as like the Parks Commission, maintenance and all that. Do we really need one more group of people? I don't know. So yes, let's talk, Andrea. I would love to. I think that is a treasure. As we have many treasures in this town, that's a particular treasure. It's really used a lot by a lot of people. It's a wonderful place, and it's never looked better. Right now, it's looking better than it has in years.
Excellent.
So yeah, and I think that, that's what I'm asking. So yes, let's talk. We can take that offline, I guess.
Yeah,
I'll throw that out there for anyone else.
No,
I'll
mention
over the
as
last
a,
few years, members of this committee have expressed concern about the health of the trees there because of well, partly because of the trucks that drive over there that are on it all during the farmers market hours. Not that anybody has anything against the farmers market. It's not the case, but it's just a matter of do we need to put some sort of controls over, who can park where for how long, because it was damaging the trees. So I haven't really heard much about that recently, or if that's still a concern. But the park, I think it's great that it's looking so beautiful, but there's also a lot to protect there, and it's not easy.
Friends groups in general can be very successful for parks. So a lot of municipalities have them, and they work out really well. So I wouldn't say it would be a bad idea off the bat. I think it's a good idea. Just like you said, needs to be explored a little.
Right.
I'm interested in that too.
We'll be in touch, Liz.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, that's great, Liz. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Comments? Okay, we'll talk about future agenda items in a minute. One, I guess, announcement or comment I want to make is that Dick Byrne had told me that after this meeting, he's going to step down from our committee because he's taken a break and from a lot of things, and I can certainly understand that. So he will not be part of our group going forward, at least for a while. I certainly hope he comes back. But I also want to just say, to everyone and to any public watching, how appreciative I am of Dick's efforts. He's been a member of this committee for, I don't know, I lost count, but I think it's at least 4 years, maybe 5, since Tony was there, and maybe even before that. But at any rate, and I know we talked earlier in this meeting about, being sort of ever present there for watering the trees at the school and stepping up whenever there's been anything that needs to be done. So we are so grateful for that, and hope you will not be a stranger and come back and join as a, for the public anytime, and come back to join us as a member of the committee sometime.
Thank you, Susan. It has definitely been my pleasure. This is a critical committee for the future of our city. I will be out and about as a strong supporter of the mission of this committee going forward. So it's been my pleasure, and I wish you all well and the most success going forward, and we will continue to cross paths.
Great. And thank you again for the help in getting the funds for the State Road Triangle. That's been a need and for many years. So I'm glad that finally happened.
Yeah, we'll make sure that happens.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, what do we want to do next in terms of what would be on future agendas? Obviously, we have some things we talked about today, looking at the funds. We've still got work to do on the map, looking at the planting plans for next year, but those are all really underway. Do we have, new initiatives or that we want to look at? Andrea.
Well, the ivy issue that did not get off the ground this year, I would like to resurrect it in the spring. So Liz, if there's any point in time when you could help do an ivy workshop, let me know, okay? But I am in search of people, and I'll be working on that this winter to see if I can find somebody to do some workshops.
Andrew, remind me again what you were planning to do. I can't remember.
I
I'm
want to
sorry.
do a workshop on showing people how to basically get rid of the ivy on their trees. I feel as if, you know, that the canopy that we have right now is really endangered, and if we can get some people to do something about that ivy, I'd like demonstration, and I'd like to do a basically a program and then a pamphlet. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so the target is homeowners with ivy on their trees? Okay.
Homeowners and ivy on their trees, and I guess the best time to do it would probably be when owners are back in the spring, early in the spring.
Well, I think you can get started on the pamphlet. I don't think that's
I've got a lot of,
deal.
I've got some stuff for the pamphlet, and I have, I already talked to Lynn,
Okay.
the communications person, and she was absolutely willing to do a whole thing on ivy in Lines in the Sand. So that's all set up. It's just finding someone to do the workshops.
I guess I'm struggling with who is going to attend a demonstration on that.
I think that one of the things that I had in mind was to take a walk around and see if I could engage in the springtime some people that have those issues. And I was going to ask everyone if they would take a look around and see if they can find some people that they would suggest they attend. It's easy to do. If you can do it yourself, fine. But if you can even just learn that it's a problem and hire people. And I think a lot of people don't know that it's a problem.
Andrea, quick thing here. So a couple of things. I had some, well, first let me say, is it possible, if you're talking about a live demonstration and who's going to attend, I think that's an interesting point that Liz makes. What about a video that people could just link to or click on? A very short video, you know, a minute or something
Doable.
like
They exist online. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all over the place. So that, yeah.
So the other thing, I had some interesting pushback. So we have a line tree that is covered. It's a Virginia pine. It's beautiful. It's healthy. And it is covered from ground to canopy with ivy, thick. And so I contracted with Cypress. I think somebody on this team mentioned Cypress. I met them. They came over. This guy was great. Jay Ashby was great.
You guys, can I interrupt? I think it's very important in this committee that we don't talk up specific contractors.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Just to keep it, there's a lot of great tree and landscapers in the city, definitely more great ones than not so great ones. But just to keep it kind of above board, okay?
Yeah, Liz, you're absolutely right.
That
So,
I know we
so
want
let
to
me just say
share
that we met with somebody
secrets.
and we have a plan to remove the ivy. However, the interesting thing is I got some pushback from my neighbor. He was all for it until the plan was to cut the ivy, let it overwinter to die, and then remove the dead brown stuff in the spring, which is what's typical, he said. Otherwise, to try to remove it while everything is green up to the top, he said, is very difficult and costly. So anyway, I got pushback from my neighbor saying, how ugly will that be? How long will I have to live with that? And the arborist said, well, it would just be over the winter. We would get here early in the spring and take it down and pull it off and clean it up for you. So anyway, that's just something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, see, we would never, even when I was in sales, we never recommended, especially a pine, we would never recommend removing it from the trunk. The canopy, if you have a bucket or a lift, you can pull up, but peeling it off the trunk, it usually rips the bark off with it. So it is ugly when it starts to die out. That is, I mean, I don't even say that's up for debate. But what's uglier, that or broken tree limbs weighed down by ivy hanging over your roof. So I think it's a balancing act. But I
or a dead tree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it kill trees, strangle them, suffocate them so much, but what happens, it gets in the canopy and the weight of it just especially on a pine, will drag it down. But I had clients that loved ivy on their trees and they thought it was beautiful covering the trunk. And so I came to an agreement with those clients that we kept the ivy at a certain height on the trunk, and that was it. It never got into the canopy. Now, if they didn't pay me to come out every year and do it, I can't say what happened, but yeah, it's an aesthetic, just like ivy covering your building is terrible for it, but it can lead to iconic buildings too.
You know, Robert, over time, and I don't know what that definition of time is, but it starts to blend in with the bark. Because I have a neighboring tree on Henlopen. They cut the ivy and it doesn't bother me at all. In fact, that I know that the tree is healthier without all that ivy growing, and it does start to blend in.
Yeah, kind of
yeah,
like
I don't have a problem with it. It was my next door neighbor.
yeah, it like disintegrates.
But
The
Exactly.
leaves
Negotiation. Yeah.
fall off.
I think this all speaks to education, you know, it all speaks to education, and that's really, really a major goal.
No, maybe speaking of that also, so if we're going to talk about the Ivy workshop and educational materials to go along with it at the next meeting, should we also talk about education in general and what other topics? Katie has.
Yes.
As far as the removal of the ivy goes, or the cutting of the ivy or what have you, as far as the workshop goes, is what I'm speaking about. I think that the education portion of it is the most important rather than the actual physical work of it, because there are a lot of homeowners that are not going to grub out ivy that themselves.
Right.
So I think that having a demonstration on how to do it is kind of pointless. I think it's a demonstration more like education is the key for ivy. I mean, if you want to keep it out of trees, I mean, you would want to start with places where they have ivy growing on the ground, and before it gets into the trees, when it's like just starting to creep up the trees, and then, you know, tell them what Liz just said. It's more about pulling the limbs down. Because there are not a lot of homeowners in town that would get out there and remove the ivy themselves.
Yeah. I agree with you, Katie. In part, I was going to use a city tree. Liz had said we could use a city tree. We had a pruning workshop a couple of years ago, and it wasn't well attended, but we had people come. And I guess I think that anyone who comes and sees how easy it is, you know, we could repeat it a couple of times, but I think I would still go, you know, I would still try and do a demo, just corral as many people as possible. And I agree, though, that it's the education really depends upon getting the word out, I guess, with pamphlets and talking and just engaging people about it. So.
Okay, that's it. All right, we'll pick this up again next time, as well as think about other education topics, whether they're hands-on demonstration workshops or whether they're lectures like Doug Talmay. It'd be great to get another one of those.
Yes.
That really, that was extremely well attended, and people still talk about it today. So.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay, well, and there's no citizen comment because I don't think there's anybody in the room there with you, Joan, right? You and Liz you're
We're
it.
the only two.
Okay, well, in that case, we are going to end a little early, but not too early. So I guess I will adjourn the meeting at 10:50. Oh, well, wait, I'm sorry. The next meeting would be October the 8th. Does that seem okay? That's our normal time. Does that seem okay with everybody?
I will not be able to make it.
Okay.
that day. But when I get the Google Maps, Commissioner, I will send it to you so you can distribute it to the group or review it on the meeting of the 8th.
Okay, great. And as far as I know, next month would still be virtual. I mean, obviously, I'll keep you posted on that. But for right now, it seems to be the case. So we're on for October the 8th. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, adjourn the meeting.
Everybody enjoy this beautiful weather.